Let's talk a little bit about post-change validation. When looking at post-change, think about it as execution or part of the pipeline that is run after changes have been made to the network. And post-change validation, what it does is that it correlates what exists on the data model with what is on the controller or the devices that we are configuring. So each of those elements or parameters of the data model is verified against the controller to make sure that there's a one-to-one relationship and that everything matches what we have defined. For ACI, there's also the possibility to do health checks. With a health check structure, it also would check and see if by any chance, even though the object was pushed, from the ACI's point of view of the operational state, that it sees an error condition there and return that back to you and let you know that that is in the incorrect state from an error point of view. But that is only for ACI. For a Nexus dashboard, SD-WAN, and other elements, the health status does not exist and hence is not run or executed as part of the configuration verification test that is completed. In addition to testing the configuration between the device and the controller or the network elements, there's also a chance to create what we call operational state tests. Operational state tests are a little bit different, and the intent of operational state tests is to corroborate network state. So what do we mean by network state? Well, let's take, for example, an easy one, LLDP. You can configure a Leaf device and say, I expect that Leaf device to have the following connections when it is in operating mode. If it doesn't have those connections or are not there when it's in an operating state and it's up and running, that means that something is incorrect and should be flagged. In the example I'm going to show you here is we're using ISIS. In the case of ISIS, what ends up happening is we're looking at this from the perspective of what adjacencies that ISIS routing instance is expecting to see. In this case, we know that we need to see these three spines that are defined in this network, right? That switch, then we can tell it we expect to see these three spines. And what happens is through this definition in the data model, we say what we call the expected state, and located in different parts of the model depending on where we're trying to execute these tests. When it's seen this status defined in the data model, it would execute those tests. And in this case, it runs. And what we do is we correlate that towards the API structure from an operational view of what is in the network. So this could go to the device directly, or it could go to the controller and then perform that test and tell you, yes, I see the adjacencies. They are in the right locations or ports or everything, depending on how the configuration is structured. And based on that, this operational state passes. These operational state tests can include many different aspects of the devices in the network, what allows you to perform these tests in such a way to say, okay, I have configured the network, and now I can also match and say the network is in the expected state that I want it to be after the configuration is complete.